My story is that when I was 16 years old, I met a disabled boy, and he had everything that I didn't. He had a job, he drove a car. I thought my social life would just take off because this guy drove a car, and I was real excited, and we started to date. And that's kind of unheard of in the disabled population. That doesn't happen too often. So I was real excited. And we'd go to dances, and we'd go out to eat, and we'd do everything together. Well, he had this job, and he was out in the world more than I, so I thought that was just real neat. So we dated until I was about 23, and then we got engaged, and I moved out of my house, and I lived in an apartment, but he was still home with his mama. He lived just with his mother his house, and it seemed like when we were dating, when I lived in the apartment, every time we'd go out, or every other time, his mother'd come along. And I thought, this is kind of strange. His mother's so overprotective, it drove me nuts. So I didn't know what to do because I kind of liked the mother, but I knew that this was, kind of strange. But I didn't want to separate from this car and this and this fact that I could have this good life with this man. So we kept on going. Well, as I'm in the apartment, he started coming around, and he started becoming, somewhat controlling. And I was young, and I wanted to do everything, and he was like, you got to clean the house. You got to keep your house clean. You got to do all these jobs. You got to do everything. And every time we went out, it was or he'd come over. His mother would call 3-4 times in a 2-hour span. And it started driving me more and more crazy. But I didn't see through all that. I still was worried about that car. so as our life went on, he became more and more controlling. And one day, he came over and he took his finger and he ran it across my countertop, and he said, you better clean this. This is pretty dirty. And I thought, this is strange that he's worried about that. So I, cleaned it. I didn't think anything of it. And then as the weeks went on, he became more and more controlling, like telling me everything I needed to do and when I needed to do it. And so I'm in the apartment, and I'm thinking, well, he's acting strange, but this car is, real important to me now. I'm still gonna hang in there, and the mother was still around, and things were keep happening. And so one day, we just kept arguing and fussing with each other, and it got to the point that one day we were arguing, and I had this bird, and I really loved this bird, and it was in a cage, and he walked over to the bird cage, and he threw my bird from a third floor apartment down to the ground, killed my bird. And mother was there at the time too. And I was upset that this bird got killed, but I can't remember how many days had passed after he killed my bird. We probably didn't talk, probably for 3 days, but I had worked at a restaurant with him. That's where he worked, and I worked there too. So I had to go to the restaurant, so I just forgave him about the bird. And so then more weeks went by, and his family was talking to me about they needed money to keep this restaurant going. And needless to say, prior to having the restaurant, I had given them $4,000 for their restaurant. So they were talking about needing more money. So I was really upset, but I thought, how can I get out of this? So they were going to take me my boyfriend was going to drive me to the bank to withdraw some money for them. I don't even remember what the money was going to be for, but so I go to the bank, and on the way to the bank, I think, I'm not going to give him any money. He doesn't need any money. I've gave him all I can give him. So we get to the bank. We go to the drive-through, and I say to him, I'm not going to give you any money. And he's really angry now, and he pulls out of the bank, and we get into, we're going about half a mile down the street, and he throws me out of the car. My wheelchair's still in the car, and he goes away. Well, a person across the street happened to see me lay there and came out and helped me, and this time my ex was going around the block, and he threw my wheelchair out of the car, and I got in, and he drove away, and I don't even remember how I got home that day. But the next, I think there was about 3 or 4 days, I was at home and he was still going to work and we weren't talking because he did this. I said to myself, well, I got to do something. So when I went to the restaurant to work that day, the day when I finally went back, I thought, what can I do? So I thought of putting a note inside of this man at the restaurant's pocket saying I needed help. Could you call me? And it was a man that knew me. We were acquaintances. We had talked a lot at the restaurant. So when he called me, I said I was getting abused from my boyfriend, and I needed help. And he said, well, the next time he abuses you, call me, and I will come and help you. So I called him, and a part that I had forgot to tell you is my parents were very in love with this guy. His kid couldn't do nothing wrong. I mean, they thought more of him than they did of me, I think. So so he told me to call him the next time I got abused. So it was like 2 days later, I got abused, and so I called him. And he came over, and he was like my knight in shining armor. And he took me to his family's house. There I stayed for 4 days. But I guess the reason I'm telling this story is that there's many people out there getting abused today, and they don't ask for help. And had I not asked for help, I would be in bad shape. But what happened after that is the man that came to help me, I ended up married 2 months later and was married for 30 years. So the moral of the story is he was my knight in shining armor, and I would like to be somebody's knight in shining armor and help them get out of the situation they're in. So if you are having problems, please, in the next few minutes, come talk to me. I will give you my phone number. We can talk, and I can help you. Because I'm telling you, there are somebody in this audience today getting abused that don't even realize it. And you've got to get out. Because once you get out, you see there's a better way for you to live. And I'd really like to help. Thank you.